বানান শিখতে হবে, প্রিয় বই পড়তে হলে 1 বানান শিখতে হবে। 31 বানান লিখবে এখন, 31 থেকে 150 পর্যন্ত লিখবে।
Assalamu alaikum, Rukhsana Yasmin ma'am. Can you hear me? Rukhsana Yasmin ma'am, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes. Alaikum assalam. I hear you. I can hear you. How are you, ma'am?
Okay, I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are going to start the program, okay?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. We can start our program.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone. This is Huma Shah from the platform of Global Trainer Academy. Today, you are watching our success story program organized by Global Trainer Academy. I am the host of the program and my co-host is Rukhsana Yasmin from Bangladesh, and we are representing Global Trainer Academy Success Story program. Today, we have a very prestigious and very beautiful lady from India, Dr. Shali Mukherjee. I would like to welcome her and I wish her a very, very good luck. Dr. Shali Mukherjee, please turn on your camera. Are you with us? Wow.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Huma, for that wonderful introduction. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here on this platform today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Dr. Shali Mukherjee is spreading her knowledge last from 20 years, and you will gonna be a very great get experience from her today, inshallah. I would like to request Rukhsana Yasmin ma'am to please continue the program.
Yes, Masha. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm really very happy and proud today. Who among us is one of the shining star and very well-known talented lady is Global Trainer Academy Success Story Program. She is very well-known talented guest speaker is our Success Story Program, Dr. Shali Mukherjee, Director at Adamans University, India. We got as the chief guest at the webinar Emotional Intelligence hosted by Vivek. We all listened your valuable speech, ma'am, there with fascination. Virtual educators collaboration, emotional intelligence webinar. Today, we are very happy and proud to have you in our GTS Success Story program. Our respected program host, Huma Shah, please, you can continue.
Thank you very much, Rukhsana Yasmin ma'am, for your kindness. I would like to request Dr. Shali Mukherjee to please take over the stage and start sharing your success story, because we all are waiting since so many of days to share your success story with us. We would love to have you. Thank you very much. Now, please go ahead. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. And yes, I was there in one of the programs maybe last month with Rukhsana ji, and it was a great experience, of course. So fine, I will be sharing some of my snippets of my journey of the last 23 years. I have been a passionate academician with more than 23 years of experience in the education sector, a global thought leader, and an internationally acclaimed inspirational speaker as well. I have been the principal as well as the founder principal of some of the reputed international schools in West Bengal, India. among which definitely I would like to name Adamus World School and STEM World School. Now, why STEM World School? Because STEM World School happens to be the first STEM school in West Bengal. And it was also eventually awarded for being the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region in 2016 by Education World. So I happened to be the founder principal of that particular institution, and I established that school right from the very beginning. Apart from that, I'm a person who is extremely passionate about promotion of child-centric and activity-oriented education all across the globe. And I strongly believe that the purpose of meaningful education is to help develop lifelong learners, creative thinkers, and responsible global citizens who would be confidently equipped to face the challenges of a completely uncertain, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous 21st century world. Well, I have been the recipient of numerous awards, accolades, and international recognitions. In fact, in the last 23 years, I have been the recipient of more than 100 prestigious awards. So definitely, I will not be naming all of them. But just to name a few, National Quality Excellence Award, Gem of India Award, National Education Leadership Award, and to top all of them, World Peace Award. I have also been awarded for being among the top 50 women leaders in the education industry and top 20 revolutionary education leaders in India. And very recently, I have also been recognized among 99 women achievers in India for the year 2021. Additionally, I'm associated with premier educational organizations across India as well as globally in senior advisory positions and roles. Well, and in my current position as the Director of School of Education in one of the premier universities of Eastern India, I feel that I'm extremely committed to developing and nurturing the 21st century teachers as well as the 21st century researchers of tomorrow who will be endowed with the ability of inspiring, touching, and impacting the lives of millions of people around them through the ennobling power of education. Well, that is my mission. And that is, in fact, the thoughts with which I had actually started my journey 23 years back.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Shaili Mukherjee, for your wonderful introduction. Would you please like to tell us about your student life? I will start from student life, then we will go towards professional life, please.
So I have done my ICSE from WWA Kasipur English School, which is one of the reputed English medium schools. After that, I completed my +2 from Lady Brabourne College, and then I did my major in English from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. Post which I have done my master's in education from the University of Calcutta, my bachelor's of education also from University of Calcutta, and then I did the NET, that is the eligibility test for lectureship, universities and colleges. And after that, I completed my PhD in English literature and language. And that is all about my student life. But honestly speaking, I still consider that I'm a student. Even after so many years, I feel that I'm a lifelong learner and I'm still a student. And in fact, I would like to say that I'm quite responsive and flexible and adaptable towards a lot of new learning that is happening all around me. And in that sense, I consider myself to be a student as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with your statement. Life itself a learning process, and we all are learning on every day of our life. My question is to you that what is the biggest risk or the challenge you have taken in your life, which the risk or the thing can lead you at this position where you are today?
Well, Huma, I have a completely different perspective on this. I won't say that there have been only one greatest risk or challenge or obstacle, something of that sort, which I have faced. Actually, it's not something like that. Well, I feel that if you want to do something which is completely revolutionary, and that's in the field of education, where you have to deal with a lot of mindsets of people who are still fed with those traditional and conventional norms. It's very, very difficult to work with those kind of mindsets. So I think challenges will come almost every day. There will be newer challenges almost every day. But then I'm a kind of a person who strongly believes that almost all potential and big opportunities in your life, they often come disguised in the form of challenges and obstacles. And in fact, they come to your life to make you emerge and evolve into a stronger and a better version of yourself. That's my strong belief. And I feel that every single thing that we are going through in our lives right now, be it a challenge or an obstacle or whatever, or a sense of a difficulty, everything is actually preparing us for the kind of life that we have always asked for. Now, it depends on us, Huma, that when those challenges, so-called challenges, come. So it depends on us whether we are going to look at it from the point of view of a
Maisha.
victim or a victim. Whether those challenges are going to turn us into better or bitter. So that completely depends on us. So, well, yes, there have been numerous challenges, because setting up the first STEM school in West Bengal with a completely different ideology, with a completely different thought pattern, was definitely not an easy task. It was not an easy task at all, because I had to deal with a lot of traditional minded people, parents, stakeholders who were not believing in the concept, in the revolutionary concept of education at that point of time. So I had to deal with those things on a daily basis. But then, yes, I had never, in fact, looked at those things from the lens of a challenge or an obstacle. I have always looked at them as a stepping stone, uh, which would actually help me to evolve into the very best, very highest, and the truest version of myself.
Perfectly said. Thank you very much. That's a good thing. Okay, so as you said that you cannot any specify a single risk that you have taken in your life, but would you please like to tell us about that? What is the biggest challenge in the field of education right now?
Lot of challenges, I would say. Very difficult to say the biggest one, but a lot of challenges. Well, let me just try to simplify it. So if you would really like to know the biggest one, I would say the mindset of the people. So the mindset of the people, which is completely resistant to progressive and futuristic transformational changes. That is the biggest challenge. And also, additionally, I would like to state that our histories have changed, our geographies have changed. But sadly enough, and unfortunately, our education system has not changed. Our education system is still the byproduct of the 19th century industrial revolution, which still promotes a one-size-fits-all educational structure, which still sees the young learners as the finished products of such a redundant and an obsolete educational system, which even denies the young learners the basic fact that they're all born with a unique blueprint to create a unique difference in the world. So it's a sad state of affairs, of course. Our conventional educational norms force our young learners to metaphorically draw and color within the lines. That is to comply, to conform, and to compete. But every single learner is given the same amount of time to learn the same thing in the same way and preferably on the same day. So there is absolutely no wonder as to why our children and the young learners, they struggle so hard to realize their true potential. I mean, definitely this is not the state of affairs that should have been there, but sadly enough, this is exactly the real scenario. So I feel that there is a complete and an urgent need for redefining and reimagining our educational system, and we have to move and we have to shift. And in fact, there has to be a paradigm shift from a too structured, too rigid, too organized educational system to a more open, productive, fruitful, meaningful, happy, and a stressful teaching learning ecosystem, which is the need of the hour. Because if we cannot do that, we are actually doing a disservice to the 21st century learners who are so completely different from all of us. So there is an urgent need for a change.
Wow, completely. I'm very ecstatic to have you today in our program. Thank you very much. So, as you said that we have a plenty of, challenges and problems we are facing in the educational field. So, how do you handle your stressful situations and working under the pressure?
Huma, I never feel that I'm working under a stressful situation.
Mm.
I'm a kind of a person who is intrinsically motivated to touch, to inspire, and to impact a lot of lives around me through the ennobling and the transformative power of education. So I'm a kind of a person who has actually turned her passion into her profession. So this is exactly what I have always wanted to do, and this is what exactly I'm doing right now. So for me, there has been a conscious intersection between what I'm good at and what I love doing. So for me, there has not been a single day where I felt that it had been too much for me or I'm under a lot of stress. I've never felt that way. Nevertheless, I would definitely like to mention that there are a lot of challenges. Yes, there are a lot of challenges, but it all depends on you, how you look at life, how you look at the entire thing. I mean, if you're committed towards creating a difference, and if you're working with a greater purpose in your mind, I feel that that particular purpose actually acts as a very, very strong magnet to pull you towards that particular vision. You really don't have to do much. That strong magnet pulls the other people around you towards that vision, as well as you get pulled towards that particular vision. And then I would say that a wonderful journey of success and accomplishment ensues. So that is what I believe. So working, I mean, doing something that you love doing something that you are passionate about will never produce a kind of a stress in your life. On the contrary, if you are made to do something which you never want to do, that is something which is going to put a lot of stress and pressure in your life. That's my take.
Yeah, and this is the actual perspective what I want from yourself for our listeners, especially, to inspire them and to motivate them, obviously. Thank you very much. So, could you please tell me about your turning point of your life? Any turning point of your life you want to discuss with us?
Sure. In fact, the greatest turning point happens to be the time when I had actually joined the education sector so many years back. As I told you that I always wanted to do this. But then when I joined the education field as a teacher in a reputed international school at that point of time, quite a reputed one, quite a renowned one. But with each and every passing day, I started feeling frustrated. I started feeling, upset, disappointed at the way things were done. So I was never, in favor of a kind of a conventional and traditional education system. So I had a very, very different, thought pattern right from the very beginning. So when I was actually working in the education field and the real scenario which was waiting for me, I mean, that was quite frustrating, quite disappointing with each and every passing day. I started feeling that everything that, we were made to do is actually wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. We are actually doing a disservice to our children by making them, by stunting their growth of creativity, by not allowing them to be creative, by not allowing them to be, innovative, by, you know, uh, restraining their curiosity, by telling them not to ask too many questions, by making them pass through a lot of standardized testing, and by making them learn through rote memory. So everything that traditional education system, uh, made us do as teachers or even as learners, all those things were definitely very, very disappointing and upsetting and frustrating. But at the same time, as I told you, it all depends on the way in which you look at things. So those days had actually, I would I would rather say worked as a very, very strong trigger for me to do the kind of work that I have been doing today. So all those days are stark reminders of the fact that a lot of things need to change. A lot of things need to be revolutionized for the benefit of our 21st century learners. So if I had been able to set up the first STEM school in West Bengal with a very, very marked difference where there are no standardized tests, where there are no textbooks, where there are no examinations, where the happiness quotient of the children as well as the students are very, very high. If I have been able to do that, I would definitely, like to mention that those dark days, those disappointing days had actually triggered me to do all those things that I have done and the things that I have been doing right now. So, well, turning point, I would say those days had been the turning point in my life, which had, inspired me to think differently and had inspired me to act differently and to create maybe, a lot of difference in the lives of a lot of people whom I have been able to touch in the last 23 years of my educational journey.
Perfect.
Wow,
This is,
one,
thank you very
yes,
much.
yes.
I request
Wonderful.
ma'am to please continue the
Yes,
intro.
yes. Um, Now I want to go to the classroom performance, ma'am. Emotional intelligence is an important issue in our classroom performance. So could you please, ma'am, tell us about it more briefly?
Yeah, sure. So
Thank you, ma'am.
before I do that, I would just like to set the context by stating that there are so many flaws in our current education system. Most of us who think differently, want to create a difference, we are not happy with the way things are going on right now. Our current education system gives a lot of importance to intelligence quotient, to IQ, and it neglects the most important dimension, and that is the emotional dimension or the emotional dynamic. Though significant research has proved that more than 80% of the success in a person's life, be it his professional success or his personal success, it actually depends on the emotional quotient and not on intelligence quotient. In spite of that, our current education system gives so much of importance to IQ and neglects EQ. So EQ is something which is so very significant and vital, and especially for the teachers, for the parents, as well as for the students. But most importantly, it's for the parents and the teachers, because we as parents and teachers, if we are not emotionally intelligent, we cannot expect our next generation to be emotionally intelligent. I mean, we have to ask these questions to ourselves. Do we need a kind of a generation which will only be, an amalgamation of mechanically trained minds? Minds which are loaded with facts and figures, minds which are systematically formulated to think alike. Do we need that kind of a generation? No, we don't. The world doesn't require mechanically trained minds. The global pandemic has proved that. Rather, what the world requires are innovative and creative minds, minds which are capable of divergent thinking, minds which are capable of creative ideation, That is what the world requires. So if that is the requirement of the world, we as parents and educators, are we doing enough to create a generation who will be creative, who will be innovative, who will be empathetic, who will be emotionally intelligent and resilient? Are we doing enough? We have to ask these questions to ourselves. But I think we're not doing enough. Just by being aware of the situation and by blaming the system is not going to work anymore. By now, we have all realized that the current education system needs a complete revolution. And nothing short of a revolution is going to work for our current education system and for our 21st century learners. I mean, maybe it had worked for us, but it's not going to work for them because they are very, very different from us. So when you ask me a question about emotional intelligence, I would definitely like to mention the 5 important aspects of emotional intelligence. And that is being self-aware, self-awareness. That is the first dimension of emotional intelligence. You yourself, you have to be self-aware of your emotions. And there's a vast difference between being emotional and being emotionally intelligent. A lot of difference. So when I'm emotional, maybe I'm showing a lot of strong emotion. Now that is not, being emotionally intelligent. If I have to qualify as an emotionally intelligent person, I must be self-aware of my emotions. I have to acknowledge the fact that yes, I'm an emotional person and I have multiple of emotions. And none of my emotions are my weakness. All my emotions are my strength. So that is the first step, self-awareness. The second is self-regulation. Once you're self-aware, you have to be you have to self-regulate. You have to control, you have to manage, and you have to regulate your emotions. Being able to control or manage your emotions is not, the same as suppressing your emotions. I'm not suggesting that you have to suppress your emotions. No, you can't do that. I mean, even if we feel that we're suppressing our emotions, those emotions will definitely find out a vent or an outlet in different times when we don't want them to do that. So the second is we definitely have to be, we have to regulate, we have to control, and we have to manage our emotions. Third is being empathetic. Here we have to understand there's a great difference between being sympathetic and being empathetic. So when you are having empathy towards somebody else, you are actually stepping into the shoes of that particular person, and you are thinking, you're seeing things from his particular lens. So being empathetic, being compassionate, that is something which is very important. The fourth dimension is obviously you have to be intrinsically motivated. You cannot always expect people to give you a lot of appreciation and praise. And, in all sorts of examinations, you cannot expect that you will be scoring a 10 out of 10 always. So those are external validations. Sadly enough, our education system feeds a lot on external validation, and hence we celebrate the board results, the mark sheets, the scorecards, and the degrees and the certificates. So we have to stop doing that, and we have to realize that the process is more important rather than the outcome. So the result is not important. What is important is the process. And through the process, whatever learnings you are learning, whatever things you are going through, that is in fact more important. So intrinsically motivated, you have to be a person who is intrinsically motivated, a person who is purpose driven, a person who is passionate towards, trying to do things that he or she had always wanted to do. And the fifth and the last dimension is you need to have social skills. Need to have relationship management skills. So if you are an emotionally intelligent person, you will be having all these 5 things. You will be self-aware, you will be able to self-regulate, you will be empathetic, you will be a person who is intrinsically motivated, and you will be having superb relationship management skills.
Wow, perfectly said. Thank you very much, Dr. Shelley. What you have recently taught about the emotions and your mentality as well. So I would like to know that what do you think in your perspective, our educational system faces so much emotional crisis and the mental illness as well. When we are talking about the students, we are not talking about only for the teachers and the educationists, but we have to look after for the students as well. So do you agree with my statement that the students are suffering from so much emotional crisis, as well as the education or the management we are talking about, as some of the boundaries, students are also suffering from emotional and mental illness as well.
But then, Huma, you have to understand one thing. When you say that the students are suffering from a lot of mental issues and a lot of emotional issues, so we have to understand that why it is so. We always have to, the problem is we always look at the outcome. We never see what is the cause. I mean, what is it that is causing a lot of mental and emotional issues with our children nowadays? Definitely stress is one. So now what is causing stress? A lot of things are actually causing stress, but from an educational perspective, if you ask me, well, a very, very simple answer to that is, stress is never caused by the curriculum. I'm talking from an educational point of view. A stress is never caused by the curriculum. A stress is never caused by the content. A stress is always caused by the method in which the content is delivered. So there's a difference between what you are teaching and how you are teaching. So the stress is caused by the how, not the what. So the stress is not caused because as a student, I have to study 10 subjects. That is not the reason for my stress. The reason for my stress as a student is that those 10 subjects are taught to me in a completely different way in which maybe I cannot understand or I cannot relate. So entire taxation falls on my ability to memorize things. So I'm only tested on my memorization power and skills, nothing else. Nothing else. If I'm a creative person, if I'm a curious, if I'm a person trying on innovating new things, I'm not tested on those things. I'm tested only whether I'm able to memorize. So that is causing stress. We have to understand that. And the second thing is that I have, in my last question, which Roxana had asked me, I was telling her about emotional intelligence. So if the teachers and the parents are not emotionally intelligent, if their EQ is not high, how do you think that they are going to, raise a generation of children who would be stress-free? I mean, it's ironic, it's absurd. Don't even expect that. It can never happen. As a mother, if I'm not emotionally resilient, if I'm not emotionally intelligent, if my EQ is not high, I cannot expect my children to be emotionally intelligent. I cannot expect that they will be stress free. I can't. Because unknowingly, as a parent and as a teacher, I am actually passing all my unresolved issues to them. We don't even realize this, but we are doing it each and every moment. If we are going through a crisis, if there are certain issues which have not been resolved at my end, and I'm suffering due to that, I'm unknowingly passing it to my next generation, as a teacher to my students, as a mother to my children. I'm doing that. So first of all, I have to take care of myself. I have to resolve those unresolved issues within myself. I have to heal that inner child which is there within me. And then only I can actually, can expect to raise a happy and a healthy, rather an emotionally healthy child. So that is one of the major reasons. We always feel that the outside environment is causing a lot of stress. No, the outside environment does not have any power on you if your inner power is high to combat that. You do not have that resilience. You do not have that power to tackle the problems that are there in the external world. That is the reason the problems are happening in your life. We have to understand that our inner reality shapes our external reality. Whatever is happening around us, somewhere we are the cause. We have actually created them with our thoughts or with our actions. So we have to understand that.
Wow, wow, wonderful, wonderful. We are really fascinated, ma'am, for your more valuable and informative speech. Our respected participants, now we are going, our respected participants, please, you can ask our very well-known and talented guest speaker, Dr. Shauli Mukherjee. Dear Nada Ratkovich, how are you?
Fine, fine. Good evening. Yes, I'm following Dr. Shauli a long time, so I see all her activities and where she participates, and I'm really proud of her because she is an amazing professor. So I really don't know what to ask, but yes, I have a question because professor has a big motivation, and I can say almost every day she's participating somewhere and making some lectures or writing or and the all fields she is. So maybe from where is the motivation?
Thank you, Nada, and it's absolutely pleasure to meet you in this platform. Yes, we are actually well connected professionally, and Nada is a very good friend of mine as well. So thank you, Nada, so much for this question. So yeah, uh, so what is the source of motivation? As I also stated earlier, that if you're a kind of a person who is actually fed on external motivation, then your motivation will fade every moment those external stimulus fades. So if I'm a kind of a person who is motivated by a lot of appreciation and praises given by people around me, the day they stop doing that, I will not be motivated, right? So I'm not a person who actually is driven by extrinsic motivation. I'm a person who is driven by intrinsic motivation. So my motivation comes from within, and it comes from a very deep sense of purpose. I always keep on asking myself, almost every single day, one question, and that is why. Why am I doing what am I doing? So
Yes, yes.
this is a question which I keep on asking myself every single day. Even before entering my class, I ask that if this is what I'm going to teach today, why am I teaching this today? So what is the outcome? So this why gives me a clear sense of purpose. This why gives me a clear sense of destination. This why keeps me rooted to my passion and to my sense of purpose. And that is something which keeps me going. But yes, I think I cannot just end this answer without saying that I am a deeply and spiritually inclined person. So a lot of my intrinsic motivation comes from my spiritual wealth and my spiritual depth. I'm a person who strongly believes in God. And I believe that all my powers, all my thought patterns, all my activities are manifestations of that divine grace and divine benediction. So I am forever, indebted and grateful to the universe and to my God for whatever I can do right now. I'm there in front of you in this platform. Everything is because of him. So I believe in that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
I-
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to ask you one thing regarding educational field, obviously, that what do you think in your perspective, how has the educational field changed last 5 years, in your opinion? And what do you predict that what will gonna be happen in next, coming 5 years? As you have, as you have invested a couple of decades in the educational field, so you can have a better idea to predict this thing.
Well, I don't know whether I will be able to predict anything, but yes, definitely, let me share my viewpoint regarding the same. Rather than 5 years, I would rather say that a lot of changes have happened in the last 1.5 years.
Oh, yes.
And that is due to the global pandemic. So, as we all had been affected by the global pandemic, a lot, many ways. But for people like us who are working in the field of education, I think that a lot of positive disruptions have happened in the field of education. And so many positive disruptions have happened in the field of education that I keep on saying this in a lot of global platforms where I speak, that had it not been for this pandemic, these changes would have taken maybe another 10 or 15 years. But these changes have, just because of this COVID-19, these changes have happened in the span of just 1.5 years. And why did it happen? Because all of us had been pushed to the edge. We never had an option apart from being at our creative and our innovative best. So we all put on that creative cap, we all put on that thinking cap and that innovative cap, and we all started thinking differently. So this was such a trying times, but also in a way such a wonderful time, which had actually taken out the best in ourselves. So a lot of positive disruptions have happened during this time. And I mean, technology was definitely there even before COVID. But how many of us had actually thought about a well-crafted technology embedded education system before COVID? Now, we know that this is the future of education. We know that hybrid and blended teaching learning is going to be the future for all of us. But then we had all the tools, even before 1.5 years, we had never used them because we were so comfortable in doing those easy tasks that we had been doing. So we had been in our comfort zone. We had never tested ourselves. We had never asked ourselves that is there a different way of doing things that we had been doing in a traditional way? We had never asked ourselves these questions. But this is such a wonderful time. It had actually, forced and compelled all of us to think and act outside the box. And I think most of us who had actually survived this time, we had all emerged into a much better version of ourselves. And once we have emerged into a better version of ourselves, I'm sure that we are going to continue this legacy. We are not going to end it. We are not going to go back to the pre-COVID times when one things so-called starts normalizing. So once we have realized the benefits of a technology embedded education system, we are going to continue it. So yes, when you are asking me about what's going to happen in the next 5 years, I'm sure that a lot of transformational changes will happen in the field of education because we all have been a part of that.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Right.
Dear Humasha, our respected Shaukia ma'am, Shumaila Waqas ma'am, Mahbooba Laila ma'am, Ruxana Parveen ma'am, they are present now. Ma'am Shaukia, please
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hi,
Assalamu
how are
alaikum.
you? Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How
How
are you,
are
ma'am?
you? Yes,
Alhamdulillah,
miss you
ma'am.
all.
Alhamdulillah.
Miss you all. Welcome.
Yes, yes. We also, ma'am.
Welcome
I
our
also.
guest, Dr.
Ma'am,
Shuli.
you can ask her question.
Yes, any question?
Yes,
Yes?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Shuli. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome and have a nice day. And we were very pleased to hear your success story. You are really very amazing. Thank you.
Thank you
Now,
so
I want, thank you. I want to ask you, how did you cope with the challenges that faced you during COVID-19 in teaching, of course?
Yeah. Thank you so much for this question. In fact,
Thank you.
last 1.5 years had been quite momentous for me as well. I'm sure it has been for most of us, but it has been especially significant for me because it was during this time that I had made a transition from school education to higher education. So after spending more than 20 years in the field of school education as an education leader, director, and principal of reputed international schools in West Bengal, this was the time in 2020 when I had actually made a transition and I joined the higher education sector as the director of School of Education in one of the reputed universities of Eastern India. So my transition from school education to higher education actually happened during the COVID times. So having said so, well, how did I manage to cope with the challenges? Again, I would like to state that it all depends on how you look at things. Well, instead of thinking about how did I cope with it, I would rather like to say that what did I learn from it? I
Yes,
was not
so
coping.
you changed the curse maybe into a blessing by your
Yeah,
positive energy, by your patience, by your effort.
right. So
Thank you.
I was, in fact, not coping with any kind of, difficult times. I was learning a lot. I was
Perfect.
evolving a lot. I was
Amazing.
emerging as a better person, I would like to say. And today I'm so happy that these 1.5 years had been a significant time for me to make a lot of, positive changes in me, especially. And I'm happy that, you raised this concern and issue regarding patience. Yes. So patience is something, patience and resilience, I would like to say. So as I was saying that I am a spiritually inclined person who believes, that in the fact that everything happens for a reason. There is a reason behind which each and everything happens. There's a reason behind which we are actually speaking to each other on this platform today. There's a reason as to why I have met so many wonderful people like you today. So there's a reason for each and everything. So I am a strong believer in that. Having said so, yes, there had been so many changes which I had brought in my teaching style, in my teaching methodology. I have learned a lot pertaining to the technological innovations. Uh, I'm a much better person in using technology right now than I was 1.5 years back. I was comfortable with technology even before, but I'm more comfortable now. I had learned a lot. And yes, I would say that I have seen my students emerging as full and holistic human beings in front of me. And when I say my students, I don't mean the little ones here. As the director of School of Education, I deal with students who are quite adults and matured. They have completed their post graduation and then they come to us to do their bachelor's in education. Some of them come to us to do their PhDs in education. So I've seen a lot of changes in them as well. I've seen how beautifully they have learned the art of collaboration as teachers and as students. And we have realized that collaboration is such a beautiful, art. And as teachers, the greatest resource that we have is actually each other. And without collaboration, our growth is limited only to our own perspective. So we have all learned that it's so very important to collaborate and to
Yes.
cooperate and each other, to
So
learn from our mistakes and our failures. That is also a very, very significant learning during the last 1.5 years, because we have experimented a lot. And when you experiment, you do a lot of mistakes. But those mistakes are not the ones which are actually deterring you from progressing. Those are the mistakes which are actually helping you to know that what is the right way of doing a particular thing. So yes, I have learned a lot from my mistakes, and I have
yes.
emerged a much better person.
Yes, thank you. Very great. So, in this period, you concentrated on the 21st century skills like cooperation, creativity, critical thinking, for example, problem solving, engaging them in the education process by, for example, using technology, and they were of great importance. Thank you very much. It was very amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank-
much. Yeah,
But
thank you so much.
Dear
I would
Humasha,
I would just like to add here that the 21st century skill set, creativity, communication, collaboration, and effective decision making, fast problem solving, analytical bent of mind. These are the kind of things which I had actually been doing even in the pre-COVID time. So when I had been able to set up the first STEM school in West Bengal, these were the thought patterns and these were the skill sets which I had in my mind. So this was not something very new which I had done in the last 1.5 years. But having said so, yes, I did a lot of, I got a lot of opportunity to actually work more in these dimensions.
Yeah.
yeah.
This motivational statements we want from the
Yeah.
platform. Thank you so much.
Dear Humasha, our participants Nasra, Zuma, Moez, and Mai and Lithi raise their hand.
Yes.
So
Hello,
we can give
hello
them.
everybody.
Yes, yes,
May I participate over here? This is Nasra Juma.
yes.
Yes,
You
now
can
I'd
ask.
like, yes, I'd like to ask the doctor about one thing, which is really a real problem that we faced through e-learning and electronic learning, the e-learning. I want to ask her about the issue of assessment. How can we manage this problem, or how can we assist the students in a perfect way or in a good way? And thank you, doctor. Thank you for your efforts, for your way. I liked the emotional intelligence that you talk about, and the success stories of yours are amazing. And thank you everybody for this meeting. And my greatest warm greetings for Mrs. Shawqiya, who is the coordinator and the leader of many issues over here in Palestine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nasra. Thank you. Welcome to our session. Thank you.
You are welcome, dear.
Thank you so much, Nasra Zuma. Thank you so much. Moez Jaglami.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Sorry.
can ask her question.
How are you? Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. First of all, I want to to thank you for this beautiful and marvelous interventions. And I have a question, yes, to the doctor. First of all, how to convince students, okay, and push them between inverted commas to pursue their educations and put away all their desires, okay, to leave school and start working at an early age. As you know, okay, they see that much money graduated people, okay, from their families that are jobless, and they agree to continue their students or studies. Sorry, okay. That's why they resort to have, between inverted commas, a short path, okay, to earn money and to avoid these painful feelings. And thanks for your reading.
If I have understood your question properly, then I would just like to say that.
Okay. Yes, shall I repeat it? Yeah, shall I repeat it?
I'm addressing your question.
Okay. Yeah, shall I repeat it, doctor?
Yes,
I'm
yes, you
addressing-
can. Question, please.
I'm addressing
Okay.
your question.
Okay. Yeah, my question is about education. Yes, as you know now, many students, okay, they resort to drop out of school and stop pursuing their educations, okay, and put away all their desires to leave school and start working at an early age. And they have, between inverted commas, they have their evidence. Okay, as you know, they see their relatives or their brother or sisters. They are graduated and they are jobless. That's why they want to have a short path, between inverted commas, yes or no. They want to start to be away from these painful feelings that they are living with their families, and they want to. As you say in English, they want to have doors, to have money, and education is the second desire. They want money, okay? They don't like to have yes, a diploma, and this diploma will not have or pave the way for them to have money. Yes, all in all, how to convince these students for nowadays, okay, to pursue their high educations and not to leave school, okay? As you know, that dropping out of school is a great problem, and is a critical one. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah, do you get me?
Yes, yes, I have got you perfectly well.
Okay,
Let me just answer your question.
thank you.
The thing is that you had asked me that how to convince the students that they should not be dropping out from the education system. Well, I would like to say that there is absolutely no need to convince them. There is a need for changing our system so that they automatically get convinced. How do you think that you are going to convince the next generation by telling them that you pursue education and that is going to give you a lot of rewards and a lot of revenues back, when there are already certain disturbing statistics in front of us? We all know that 50% of the graduates, after completing their formal higher education, they do not even manage to get a decent job. And employers would moreover reconfirm the fact that more than 80% of the ones who do somehow manage to get a job are not capable enough to retain that job. And they have to be retrained and they have to be reskilled on the job front. So I think if one of the major aims of our current education system is to somewhat provide the children or the students with a decent way of living after completing their formal higher education, we all have to agree to the fact that our current education system is miserably failing. So with this kind of a decadent education system, even if you try to convince the students that please pursue the education, it's going to do you a lot of good in days to come, they're not going to get convinced, and it's not their fault. Because it is ultimately a faulty education system that we are all, a witness to. So, well, if you are asking about a resolution or a solution to it, I would like to state that the problem of dropouts, you have raised this issue, but the problem of dropouts is a very, very big issue. I agree to it. But you know what? I believe that even, more disastrous than the problem of dropout is actually another different kind of a problem. We know that a lot of children, a lot of students are dropping out from our education system technically. But what about those students who are not technically dropping out, who are very much present in your and my classroom, but they're completely disoriented and disconnected with the kind of education that we are giving them? They're not technically dropping out. They're very much there in our classrooms. They're pretending that they're listening to all our lectures, but they're completely, disconnected with whatever we are teaching them. And it's not a fault of theirs. It is because of a faulty education system, because we are teaching them the same content which we had learned, which even my parents had learned, or maybe even my grandparents had learned. How do you think that our children, who are the 21st century learners, would be interested in those decadent and redundant contents, which are not related to their real life experiences? A kind of a system which does not recognize their individual talents, their individual passion, their individual abilities. How will they be remaining, loyal to that kind of a system? So I feel that we shouldn't be convincing them. Even if we convince them, it's not going to fetch any results. What we have to do is we have to change the way in which education is delivered. We have to understand that this is a generation which needs a completely different kind of education. And we have to make a lot of changes in our education system. So much so that the learners would be intrinsically inspired and motivated to pursue their education. If they feel that this is something which is not going to help them in the real life, they will not pursue it, as simple as that. That's my take. So absolutely no result in convincing them. I don't believe in convincing them with false hopes. Even I am also very, very dissatisfied with the current education system.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Shirley, for your brief answer to the participant. Manan Letha from Vietnam wants to ask you something. Please unmute your.
Okay. Hi, all. Hi, Dr. Sorry, and all the participants here, right? First of all, I would like to give all of you best wishes and good health to especially in the COVID-19 pandemic, right? I would like to introduce something by myself. I am a teacher of English from Lao Cai, Vietnam. I teach English at a high school. And today I'm very happy to hear the motivation story from Doctor and inspiration sharing. I admire you a lot. And I have a question for you to help me, right? In my school, there are more than 1,000 students. I think that nearly a quarter of my students are good students and confident enough to speak and communicate with the foreigner, and especially take part in some competition, international competition. And I think the rest of my students not good. I mean, medium or never or weak never. They are not confident enough to speak English and especially communicate with the foreigner on the world and take part in some international competition. So I would like to ask you, can you give me some suggestion or some way, I mean some measure to help my student to enhance their speaking skill, raise confidence or motivate them to feel confident to communicate with others. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you for that question.
Yes,
I would like to say that there is one simple way in which this ultimately can be done. And it's not a problem that you're facing in your country only. I think, most of the countries, children suffer from a lack of confidence when it comes to communication skills. And here I would just like to mention that it's not only communicating in English that is going to make a big difference. I mean, we also have to get rid of this idea that a great communication is equivalent to communicating in English. We all have this kind of a colonial mindset that if you're not good in communicating in English, you are not a good communicator. We have to get rid of this idea first. You can be an excellent communicator, but maybe you're not very fluent in English. That is the difference. We have to understand that. I mean, well, speaking English fluently and eloquently is definitely a skill, but that is not the only skill that qualifies you to be a great communicator. That is one. But since your question was specifically about how to nurture and develop the speaking skills among your students, I think that they have, as a teacher, you have to continuously give them activities that they have to speak a lot, because you never learn speaking by keeping dumb, by keeping quiet. You never learn that. We feel that when we hear a lot of good speakers, we are learning. We are learning 50%, but we are learning 100% when we are actually speaking. So you have to create that environment in your classroom where your students will be forced to communicate and they will be forced to speak up. Whether they're extroverts or introverts, they will all be speaking up without the fear of getting judged, without the fear of getting labeled that maybe I'm not speaking that well. No. So that fear and that labeling and that judging thing has to go. And then you have to create a very, very safe and open environment in your classroom by devising a lot of activities which you can give to them, where they will be speaking and they also will be, not only they will be publicly speaking, but they will also be speaking with their peers and with their, with their friends. They will be discussing a lot. There can be a lot of classroom discussions. There can be a lot of group discussions. There can be a lot of debates. There can be a lot of one-liners. So a lot of activities can be given to them. So it's not going to happen overnight. It needs a lot of practice, but continuously you have to make that environment in your classroom. And only through speaking will they be getting rid of their fear of speaking. So that is the only way. You have to give them a lot of, incentives to speak.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your valuable feedback you are giving to our listeners. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
There is Rana who wants to ask you one query. Rana, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Just-
please. Good evening, please.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are completely audible. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not a teacher yet. I'm studying, but I will be a teacher, inshallah. My question is how to re-motivate our students, especially that they are techno geeks, they have many distraction methods around them. They enjoy watching YouTube videos, maybe listening, watching movies, spending their time on TikTok. So it's not that easy nowadays to let them focus on their study or to engage them with their curriculum. So if you have any advice, so please try to inform us.
Yes. This is the kind of a generation that we're dealing with. And, this is also the kind of students that I have in my classroom who are,
সত্যি বলতে কি indeed বুঝায়?
connected to technology. Okay. So,
সত্যি indeed.
Yeah,
Yes,
Roxana,
Miss Roxana, mute yourself. Go ahead, sorry.
Please continue.
So I believe that technology is actually not a distraction. This is my belief. I know that maybe I will be raising a lot of storms by saying this, but this is what I believe. Technology is not a distraction. It depends on the way in which you use it. I mean, what is the harm if my students watch a lot of YouTube videos which are meant for educational purpose? In fact, I motivate them to watch a lot of TED Talks and a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of internet resources and all those things. So even I also motivate them to do that. And I think that is the way in which teaching learning should happen in 21st century. We cannot think of a kind of a generation. We cannot think of a particular time where there will be no technology. We are no longer living in the prehistoric times. We are living in 21st century, where technology is very much like food, clothing, and shelter. The fourth dimension is in fact technology. So we have to embrace technology, but yes, we have to use it productively, meaningfully, and functionally. That is what I believe. And then I think that a lot of responsibility lies in the hands of the parents as well as in the hands of the teacher. Just let me give you an example. As a parent or as a mother, if my children, they see me for 24/7 glued to the social media and spending my time in chatting and doing a lot of unproductive stuff, I'm sure that my children are also going to do the same. But if they see that I'm using technology in a very, very productive manner, I'm doing it to learn something, or maybe I'm doing it to connect, or I'm doing it to enhance my skills, I'm sure they would also be learning the same from me. So it depends on how I am trying to be a role model to my children, to my students. Technology is not a distraction. It's not a problem. The problem is our mindset. We are dealing with children in an age of complete distraction and in an age of instant gratification. It is very important for us to tell them and to make them realize the importance of the power of now. It is very important for us to teach our children the importance of mindfulness, that they have to be present in doing whatever they are doing in the current moment. I think that is more important. For me, see, I have a very different perspective. I don't view technology as a distraction. It's not a distraction. It's an enabler. It's an enabler. It depends on how we are using it.
Great, perfect. Thank you very much. Mehbooba ma'am?
Yes, Mahbooba ma'am.
Yes.
Mahbooba ma'am, you can ask the question. Mahbooba ma'am, can you hear me? Mahbooba Laila ma'am, Assalamu alaikum. Shumaila Akkas ma'am. Mahbooba Laila ma'am raised her hand, but now she is response not. Mahbooba Laila ma'am, she is not connected, maybe.
No issue. Thank you very much, Dr. Your program is going awesome, and hundreds and thousands
Yes,
of people.
Roxana, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you, ma'am? How are you, ma'am?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, I'm good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Humasha, continue. It's okay.
Ma'am, you can ask her question, ma'am.
If you want to ask something, you please go ahead.
No.
Okay.
I'm enjoying listening, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, she is an amazing lady. Thank you very much.
No doubt.
Humasha, I am say something, Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, ma'am. Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, ma'am, আমি বাংলায় আপনার সাথে এখন একটু কথা বলবো, কারণ আমি তো বাংলায় আপনার সাথে একটা প্রোগ্রামে ছিলাম। সত্যি মন্ত্রমুগ্ধের মতো আমরা শুনেছি। আমরা আপনার কথাগুলো সেইভাবে আমরা সবাই অনুসরণ করারও চেষ্টা করি এবং করব, সেই আশা রাখি। তো আমাদের বাংলাদেশে অনেকেই আজকে এখানে উপস্থিত আছেন, তো সেই কারণে ম্যাম আপনার মুখে আমরা কিছু বাংলায় উপদেশ বাণী বলবো না, আমাদের শিক্ষকদের জন্যই আপনি কিছু বলবেন। আমরা বাঙালিরা মন্ত্রমুগ্ধের মতো আজকেও একটু শুনতে চাই আপনার মুখে সেই কথাগুলো। আমরা খুব গর্বিত যে আপনি একজন বাঙালি। আমরা বাংলায় আপনার মুখে শুনতে পাই, আপনার মতো এত ব্রিলিয়েন্ট পার্সনের কথাগুলো যে আমরা বাংলায় বুঝতে পারি, সেই জন্য আমরা কিন্তু অনেক 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 গর্বিত ম্যাম। আর আজকে আমরা অনেক গর্বিত যে আপনাকে আমাদের জিটি এর সাকসেস স্টোরি প্রোগ্রামে পেয়েছি, সেই জন্য আমরা অনেক গর্বিত এবং অনেক আনন্দিত। ম্যাম প্লিজ। একটু বাংলায়
আমি
আমাদের জন্য।
নিশ্চয়ই নিশ্চয়ই, আমি নিজেও বাঙালি এবং আমি বাংলা বলতে খুবই স্বচ্ছন্দ বোধ করি।
জি
তো এবং আমি একটু আগেও বলেছি যে কমিউনিকেশন আমাদের জন্য খুব দরকারি, খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট। কিন্তু কমিউনিকেশন মানে ইংলিশ কমিউনিকেশন নয়। একজন কমিউনিকেশন বা একজন কমিউনিকেটর ভীষণ ভালো কমিউনিকেট করতে পারেন, মেবি তার মাদার টাঙ্গে, সেও কিন্তু ভীষণ ভালো কমিউনিকেশন। আমরা শুধুই যারা ভীষণ ভালো ইংলিশে কথা বলতে পারে তাদেরকে আমরা দারুণ কমিউনিকেটর হিসেবে মনে করি, যেটা কিন্তু আমাদের ভুল, এটা আমি বিশ্বাস করি। আমি শুধু শেষে একটাই কথা বলবো যে কিছু জিনিস যেটা আমার উপলব্ধি, কিছু জিনিস যেটা আমি ভীষণভাবে বিশ্বাস করি বা আমি উপলব্ধি করেছি আমার নিজের জীবনে, এই এডুকেশন ফিল্ড নিয়েই বলবো যে পেরেন্টস হিসেবে বা টিচার হিসেবে আমরা অধিকাংশ সময় আমাদের বাচ্চাদেরকে জিজ্ঞেস করি খুব ছোট বয়সে যে তোমরা বড় হয়ে কি হতে চাও, তুমি কি হবে বড় হয়ে, তুমি ডাক্তার হবে নাকি তুমি ইঞ্জিনিয়ার হবে না সায়েন্টিস্ট হবে। এসব প্রশ্নগুলো আমরা ছোট বাচ্চাদেরকে করি, প্রতি ঘরে ঘরেই আমরা এটা দেখি, এটা হয়, আমাদেরকেও করা হয়েছিল, আমরাও করি। আমার মনে হয় যে এই ধরনের প্রশ্নগুলো বাচ্চাদেরকে করা বন্ধ করা উচিত, এবং তার চেয়ে যদি আমরা এই ধরনের প্রশ্ন তাদের করি যে আচ্ছা একটু ভেবে বলো তো, তুমি বড় হয়ে এমন কি করতে চাও যেটার মাধ্যমে একটা বড় সমস্যার সমাধান হবে, তুমি এমন কি করতে চাও যে একটা বড় প্রবলেমের সলিউশন বেরোবে তোমার কাজের মধ্যে দিয়ে। একটু চিন্তা করো, বলতে হবে না, চিন্তা করো। আমরা যদি এই কথাগুলো আমাদের বাচ্চাদেরকে বলতে পারি, আমার মনে হয় তারা খুব ছোট বয়স থেকেই শিখবে যে আমাদের চিন্তা করাটা খুব দরকার, এবং সেই চিন্তার মধ্যে দিয়ে আমাদের পারপাসটা আমরা খুঁজে পাবো। তাই জন্যই হয়তো আমরা দেখি আমাদের পারিপার্শ্বিকতে অনেক জায়গায় দেখি যে প্রচুর মানুষ, তারা প্রচুর ভালো প্রফেশনে ভালো চাকরি করেন, ভালো ডেজিগনেশনে আছেন, কিন্তু তারা খুশি নন। তারা অনেক পয়সা ইনকাম করেন কিন্তু তারা খুশি নন। খুশি নন তার কারণ তাদের পারপাসটা ক্লিয়ার নয়। তারা কাজ করছেন, তারা রোজগার করছেন, ভালো লাইফস্টাইল লিড করছেন, কিন্তু তাদের পারপাসটা তাদের কাছে ক্লিয়ার নয়। তো আমরা যদি ছোট থেকে একটু চেষ্টা করি আমাদের বাচ্চাদের মধ্যে এই পারপাসের বোধটাকে বপন করতে, তারাও বুঝতে শিখুক যে পারপাস ছাড়া কোনো কাজ করা উচিত নয়, আমার মনে হয় তারা একটু অন্যভাবে চিন্তা করবে। আর এগুলো করার জন্য আমি এখন যেটা বলবো সেটা হয়তো খুবই রেভলিউশনারি, অনেকেরই পছন্দ হবে না, কিন্তু আমি এটা বলবো যে মেবি আমাদের সময় এসেছে যেখানে আমাদের বোধহয় ওই ম্যাথ, সায়েন্স আর একাডেমিক লিটারেসিটা একটু কম দরকার, আর বেশি দরকার ইমোশনাল লিটারেসি। মেবি আমাদের আইকিউটা একটু কম দরকার, আর বেশি দরকার ইমোশনাল কোশেন্ট। মেবি আমাদের কাটথ্রোট কম্পিটিশন, প্রতিযোগিতার একটু কম প্রয়োজন আছে, এবং বেশি প্রয়োজন আছে সহযোগিতার, সহমর্মিতার এবং কম্প্যাশন আর এমপ্যাথি। এবং সেই জিনিসগুলো যতক্ষণ না আমাদের এডুকেশন সিস্টেমের মধ্যে ঢুকছে ততদিন আমরা কিন্তু এক্সপেক্ট করতে পারি না আমাদের ফিউচার জেনারেশন একটা দারুণ সুন্দর জেনারেশন তৈরি হবে যেখানে তাদের মধ্যে এই সুন্দর সুন্দর প্রবৃত্তিগুলো থাকবে। এখন এরা এগুলো নিয়ে জন্মায়নি, এটা আমাদের রেসপন্সিবিলিটি তাদের মধ্যে এটা ইনকালকেট করা। তার জন্যই আমরা শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকা, তার জন্যই আমরা মা বা বাবা, প্যারেন্টস, এটা আমাদের দায়িত্ব। আমরা এই দায়িত্বটাকে এড়িয়ে যেতে পারি না, এটা আমি মনে করি।
অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ ম্যাম আপনাকে আমাদের বাঙালিদের জন্য বাংলায় এত সুন্দর করে উপস্থাপন করার জন্য। ম্যাম, we are very happy and proud to have such a talented person like you among us. Thank you so much, ma'am. Humasha, you can continue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shuri. Even samajh kuch nahi aaya, but still most of the people don't understand Bengali, na? So that's why. But okay, so we are going towards the end. Okay, Mehbooba ma'am is with us. Mehbooba ma'am, You can ask Sakuri if you want to ask something too. Mehbooba ma'am, I think there is some problem with her with the connectivity.
Yes, yes. Mahbooba ma'am.
She is raising her hand, but she is not responding.
Mahbooba ma'am, we can't hear you. Okay, Humasha.
Okay, no issue. Okay, so Dr. Shuri, I would like to add something at the end because we are going towards the end of the program. At the top of, please give some advice to our listeners. Any tips and tricks about their future, okay, to motivate them, to inspire and give a very massive and a beautiful message, which has to be go from your side, obviously, and tell something more or briefly describe the interesting facts about 2022, not 2021, because it's going to be end. New Year has to come yet. Please go ahead. Your last word.
So taking the hints from what you said, Huma, right now, that I shared something in Bengali by Rukhsana's request. So you all could not understand whatever I said. So let me just translate that in English and let that be my ending message for today. So I was just telling her that maybe it's time, a kind of a time where we have come, we have to realize that maybe we need less of math, science, and academic literacy and more of emotional literacy. Maybe we need less of IQ and more of EQ. Maybe we need less of cutthroat competition and more of collaboration and cooperation. This is the need of the hour. Because the world doesn't care how much you know. It's very important. The world is not affected, or the world doesn't care how knowledgeable you are or how much you know. But the world definitely cares about what you decide to do with what you know. And for that, it's very, very important for each one of us to know why we are doing what we are doing. So why is very, very important. So even as adults, learners, children, parents, teachers, everyone, why is something which you need to ask yourself often. This why is going to give you the sense of purpose. This why is going to give you the sense of direction. So never stop asking this question why till you get a clear and a correct answer to that. That's my ending message for today.
Wow, that's completely fabulous. And I get to know that you are such a vivacious person. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Shuri. And I'm very ecstatic to have you in the platform of Global Trainer Academy. And obviously, we are looking forward for so many programs to join us with GTA. Thank you very, very much. All the participants, all the listeners, our respected leaders and the judges who represents Global Trainer Academy globally. And thank you so much, Dr. Shaili Mukherjee from India, to give your valuable feedback, to take so much information and spread it all over the world. Thank you very much for your kindness, as well as thank you so very much for giving such an information to the listeners as well, and give them advices to motivate them and inspire them and to be like that. Maybe somehow take the trip from you and change their life. Maybe one of hundreds as well. Thank you so very much, our host Rukhsana Yasmin ma'am from Bangladesh. Thank you very much, all the participants, listeners, and the judges. That's all for today. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Shuri. Thank you. Bahut shukriya. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, Huma, Rukhsana, for this wonderful hosting of the program, and the entire team of Global Trainers Academy and all the participants who have been, patiently listening to me and had wholeheartedly, participated in asking so many questions. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Really, our success story program is really a success story. Thank you. We did an amazing job today. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes.
See you once again. See you once again. Thank you, our participants, our dear participants, and thank you so much, Huma Shah, our program host, Huma Shah, and Lastly, I again thanks our respected, our talented guest speaker, Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Thank you very much all. That's all for today. Our great respect towards our CEO, Sakina Malik. And of course, we are not here to forget our co-founder, Mr. Imran Malik, late, who organized this complete platform for
Yes,
us.
yes. Yes,
Only
absolutely.
we are here and you are here and we are communicating with each other. Thank you very, very much. That's all for today. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. Goodbye. Thank you.